We are back with another episode of the Credit Pearls podcast. Today we have Phil and Col. They're like the Ant and Dec of fitness and nutrition. This is Phil, the guy with the beard, and Col is the guy with no beard. So you're very welcome, guys.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? The Ant and Dec of nutrition and training?
Yeah, because it's like you never know who's who. When people meet, they're like,
that's
Colin,
true.
Phil,
Ant
and Dec, who's who, and you never see them without each other.
We have to sit these sides of each other.
Yeah, I know. And look, it's great to have you here. And I met Phil first. I'll tell the story of how I
remember
met
it well.
And I just had my fourth baby, and I felt really out of shape. And not that I was like mad overweight, but I felt like my body wasn't the same. And I was really embarrassed. I don't know if I ever told you the whole story. I was too embarrassed to go to a gym, and I had been a runner, but I couldn't do that after having the baby. Everything just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And like my pelvic floor muscles, and I couldn't run. And I remember being really shy going. And I spoke to Phil on the phone, and I was like, oh my God. I was afraid that like when I got there, like your belly would hang out or something, and you'd be just mortified. But you were so nice and made me feel so at ease that I was like, I went back because I was like, I'm going to try this personal training and see if this works for me. But then when I would think, I was hoping it'd be a woman. Yeah. And then when it was a guy, I was like, oh, like, but it was great.
Yeah.
And then from there, then, you know, I really kind of got back in shape. We got my nutrition sorted. So it was a really great story. But it was that, I was so nervous.
Just like we are now.
Just like you are now. But that's really important to say to people. And for you to know, when people go, like they're probably really at their most vulnerable.
It is a huge part of our job, and it is something that we do realise that people are going to be self-conscious coming into a gym. Yeah. And we have a huge responsibility as well as coaches to, you know, introduce people to fitness, or whether they're coming back to it, to make them want to do it and enjoy it. It's a big part of the job.
Yeah, put them at ease, like, you know, you can't exercise, you can't do anything if you're nervous. You know, if you put someone at ease straight away, all of a sudden they relax. They start opening up, start, you know what I mean?
And then they start enjoying it then,
exactly,
because half the battle is that you think people are going, like what we were talking about, like, you know, when you post a social media video, but when you go in there, you think people are judging you, he's going to think I'm fat, out of shape. You know what I mean? People do it, it's a big worry. So
everybody's probably thinking that as an individual though, and nobody's actually really kind of judging each other or looking at each other.
They're not, they're too busy worrying about themselves.
But
that's how I felt at the time. And like, that's 9 years ago nearly.
The time's after flying,
But I just wanted to say that because I was at that place where it was like such a big deal. Like I nearly didn't go. But if you're met with someone who doesn't realise or recognise their responsibility, then that's a totally different experience.
It is. It's a huge responsibility as a coach to do that. And like, there's times when I've been away on holiday and gone into a gym, and it was like a big bodybuilder gym, and you walk in, and I know what I'm doing and stuff like that, and I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, look at all these guys. They're like, who's this little guy after walking in? So look, it happens to everybody. It's perfectly natural.
And so tell us a little bit about, for both of you, I don't know who wants to start, how did you get into fitness? How did that start for you? Was it when you were young, at school? Were you into sport?
Yeah, I was kind of always into it a little bit. You know, I started in gym at like 15, 16.
And did you play
young
sport?
Enough. Bit of basketball, okay, always kind of physical in some aspect, you know. And it just seemed a natural progression. I was like, I really like this. I'm kind of good at it. Someone's telling me I can make a job out of this. Do you know what I mean? I kind of, you know,
went for it then.
I kept doing it then. So what about you, Phil? What were you like?
I would have typically played sport in school, like soccer and GAA, but then around the time of like 17, 18, 19, as like a young man in Ireland, I suppose you learn about pubs, you start going to the pub and stuff like that,
drinking,
and maybe fall away from it. Some people stick to it, some people fall away from it. So it was more so in my mid-20s, I was still playing a little bit of football, a little bit of soccer and that, and I actually broke my wrist playing soccer, so I had to stop. So I didn't train for maybe about a year, and I worked at one of the banks, and it's a great scheme. At the time, they gave you 50% of your gym membership. So you would sign up for a gym and they would give you 50% back. So it was a bit of a no-brainer to sign up. So I just started going to the gym, didn't really know what I was doing, a little bit of jogging, a little bit of weights, and then it kind of snowballed from there. I started doing weights, I really enjoyed it. My job with the bank was around the time of the crash. So I didn't cause the crash, I didn't press a big red button or anything like that.
Giving loans out to people, that's released.
So I lost my job with the bank. I had to go back into just retail, just get any job. So didn't really have a full week or anything like that, so I had time to go to the gym. Just got into it, just really enjoyed it. It was good for me. It was good for getting back from injury. My wrist felt really good afterwards, good for my head. And still around that time, just went and got qualified as a PT.
And what did you do to get qualified?
I did my first course when I was 19, like, you know.
Okay, so you went straight, this was kind of your first job. You didn't have like a job before.
Just normal jobs in the supermarket or whatever, but I didn't do anything else. I wasn't good at anything else. You know, you have to remember this, you know.
It was all or nothing. I was going to make it in this. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like 19, then I wanted to go into the army for a while. That didn't work out or whatever. And then about 22, 23, started working in a full time. But before that, I was like teaching classes in holds with like 2 skipping ropes and what, you know what I mean? Like it was fairly basic, but just doing whatever I could, you know, that kind of way. But it's all I kind of wanted to do. It was all I was interested in.
And how much has it changed though? Because if I even look at the trends, say, over the past 10 years, so you would have qualified.
So I'm 34 now. So
okay, whatever that was. We can't do maths backwards.
Yeah.
But like the trends, like what I think what confuses people is, right, and what I'm seeing now, it's like weights, it's cardio, it's this. People, like, and it's changing so much all the time of people. What should they be doing in the gym? And I listen to a lot of podcasts and it's like, it's absolutely cardio, good for your heart and lungs, good for your brain. Then it's like, it's absolutely weights, it's absolutely... So people can get very confused. Have you seen that from when you started training?
Yeah, well, even on the female side of things, like when I started, women didn't go into the weights area.
I know.
Do you know?
They still probably don't as much even now.
Like, you know, that's a big shift I've seen, which is brilliant. We encourage it as much as possible. So that's probably the biggest shift I've seen is like women are now, there's more women in the weight section area than guys.
But do you know what I see as well? Like people are into fitness now. When I was growing up, nobody was into fitness. Now I'm older than you again, but I see that now. Like the younger generation are into fitness and people are into fitness. Like the first time that I went away, I was in Holland and everybody was out running and I said, you just wouldn't see this in Ireland. You do now.
You do now. There are a lot more gyms, and then I think COVID as well, people became more aware of their kind of their health, their well-being. You know, even if something like that did happen again, you'd want to be in a good place where you felt healthy and fit and strong, because there's maybe people who are unhealthy that it might have hit a little bit harder. So people are conscious of that. There's a lot more gyms and stuff like that. I don't have any regrets. Sometimes I think like, oh, I really wish that I was, you know, doing weights from when I was 15, 16, 17, but there just weren't as many gyms around or anything like that either. There were gyms. There was no internet. You hadn't got a clue what to do, and it was obviously intimidating. So it's
it's much better now, and I think people are more aware of it, but I just think that's conflicting around what to do when you get there, what's the best for you. Like where, so say somebody who's listening and is like, look, I'm really interested in fitness, where do I start?
We do have really good guidelines for health for fitness anyway, so in terms of lifting weights 2 to 3 times a week, some kind of resistance training, whether it's with dumbbells or bands or body weight or anything like that. And then we have minutes for cardio, kind of vigorous cardio or moderate cardio as well. So it's 2 to 3 times per week to lift weights. I think it's 75 to 150 minutes of moderate cardio, or vigorous cardio, sorry, and 150 to 300 of just kind of moderate cardio, low cardio.
Around, walking,
so like I mean, if you to kind of make it quite simple, it is if you lift weights a few times a week. Again, you can go further into that as in what you should be doing or not doing, and do some kind of cardio as well. You're pretty much on the ball, and be active in your life as well. So don't be a couch potato outside of that, just go home and sit down.
Investing in some help early on shortcuts it massively.
We know some people.
We know some people. No, but it really, really does. You could cut out 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years of going back and forth and not really getting anywhere in the space of like about
spinning
3 to 6 months. You know, once you get some guidance, they can direct you exactly what you need at that time. You know, that kind of way, give you the guidance, make you confident in the gym. When you walk in and you know exactly what you're doing, you're confident, you're grand.
Yeah, and you're not intimidated, you won't want to walk out. Because I think that's a barrier to people. They're like, when I get in there, I've joined the gym. And like some of these commercial gyms, and I'm not putting anybody down, and I'm really not, but they don't have anyone on the floor to tell you what to do.
They don't.
So you're out there, you're in the gym, you've joined, you've gone, and then you suddenly find yourself surrounded by people like who look like experts, particularly when you're a novice. And you're like, I don't know what to do.
I did that. Like when I started in the gym, I remember it was over in Naas, and I went in and there's just a couple of big guys in the corner like doing curls and stuff like that. So I just like, I think I
wanna
should
do
just
what
copy
they're
them,
doing.
if you don't know. I've been there as well. I think that's probably, we've been working together for so long. We've done like every program, every squat program, every like bodybuilding program, Olympic lifting, whatever it was, we've tried it. We've tried to consume as much all the resources we can to do with training between the two of us. You know, we talk back and forth. And then I've been doing it for like 12 years. I've been coaching for 12 years. I think you're like 10 or something close, is it?
In full time.
Yeah. And then it's like, you have all that information distilled now that you can just go, okay, this is
somebody
like,
coming in,
this is expertise.
Yeah. We've condensed what you shouldn't do as well. You know, we've done all
that's
that. You know,
because the thing that can happen, I see a lot of people, they get injured then. Back goes, their knee goes, their shoulder goes, and it's probably because they're not sure what they should be doing.
They get in and go mad.
It's tough with social media as well. If you go and you look and you see a video of the CrossFit Games or something like that, and you're like, that's what I'm gonna do. And if you're starting out, it's, you know, there are fundamentals you should be trying to master before you do anything like that. And anything to do with high performance, generally you're probably going to run into injuries and stuff like that. So there's a lot to be said for just being consistent, like Colin said, having a good coach.
To guide you.
To guide you.
Because I think, like, the young people are definitely more into fitness than we were. They definitely don't drink the way we drank.
No,
that's not what I'm saying.
That's not a thing anymore.
They're not drinking the way we drank.
Which is great,
But I think the one thing that for me, and we were talking about it before we went online there, was when I started my business. So I was a gym bunny, you know that. I was there 6 days a week. I was like loving the gym, never missed it. And then when I started the business, things started to slip. So I stopped going to the gym as much. My food, I ate nothing all day. Then I might have loads of food when I go home. I actually can't believe that happened to me because I was so into it. But I had a new life. So I had it in my old routine.
Adulthood,
Yeah, I had it in my old work job that I finished, and I knew when I was working. But I'm not doing 9 to 5 now. So it's not a 9 to 5 job. There's loads of people that listen to this podcast and that watch, and they're in the same situation. And I had to redefine what the gym looked like, what health and fitness looked like, because I went from being all in to all out. Food bad, not exercising. Then I was stressed. Then I wasn't sleeping. Then I was gaining weight. Then I was feeling bad about myself. Then I didn't want to go to the gym because, like, what if anyone sees me now? I'm not in the shape that I was in before, and I can't do what I did, and then I don't want to go back, and I don't want to face it. I think there's a lot of people like that. That really, really happened. And I think then when I have an accountability person or somebody to go back to, that massively
It's huge for training and nutrition as well, the accountability part. Even for me as well, people would assume that, like, oh, you're going to eat really well all the time, which I do. But in terms of, you know, fruit and vegetables, people, like, throughout their life, they'll have different tastes and they'll change the food they eat and things like that. But having somebody to be accountable along the way is something that will definitely, it'll help you massively. Like, it's human nature.
We give out about routine, you know. If you're like, oh, I have to get up this hour, but we actually crave routine. We need routine. And we can. That's what we do, is basically give people routine. I want you here at this day, at this time. I want you to, you know what I mean? Like, this is what you're going to do. Will help you organize your own routine, which would have changed for you when you went to your other job, you know. But if you have guidance and you go to my coach, what way am I going to manage that? And they go, right, then you're going to do this. It's going to be different, but it's going to be the same outcome. You know,
it takes the thought out of it for them, doesn't it?
Completely.
And that, do you know what? Because what I find is that my days then went from just going in, doing my job in my hours and going home to, like, my mind was so full. It was like, I just don't have time for anything. I just wanted someone to come along and say, eat that, go there and do this. And I think that's because the impact that not exercising had on stress.
I do think that with everybody, every adult needs a certain amount of time in a day where they need to decompress, I call it, where literally you just sit down or you go to a session and the steam comes out of your ears a little bit, whether that's through exercise or it could be just watching TV for 30 minutes, whatever it is, meditation, whatever, yoga. But everybody needs to do it. It's a huge part of stress release. And some people love that, the gym, where it's they go in and
100%, and like that, you like young kids, so I know from like being at home.
You're a daddy now.
I'm
you're
like,
oh
God,
this is a different world.
You can't de-stress at home.
No,
you can't de-stress. It doesn't matter what room you go into.
No,
doesn't happen.
Even the toilet they're in.
You know what I mean? So like I think that's why the gym is that probably good outlet, because you're de-stressing, but you're also working on your health at the same time. You know that kind of way. So it's like two birds, one stone. But without it, when you're used to it, and then you go without it,
nuts.
It's like, how did I survive before I started this? You know that
and
kind of way.
I really saw the difference. And then like it all happened. So I started the business in 2019. Then COVID hit. So I started to get busy with the business, and then it was COVID.
Yeah.
And then I was like a stone and a half heavier. I was like, what? How?
Yeah,
How?
I think I put on about a stone over COVID as well.
Yeah.
And I was still
COVID
training
stone.
away.
It was everybody. I was like, what
It's a
the hell
thing.
is going? Some people lost it, but I mean, I didn't. I was, but I did see the impact that it had, and then I was like, okay, this is really important, but I don't know how to do this in my new life. I'm still not there. Like I have to be honest, I'm not. I'm really working hard on it.
Yeah.
When I do it, I'm delighted, but it's finding the time.
Yeah.
It's finding the new routine.
It's important as well because time does pass, especially as an adult. Like we were talking about times earlier in the car coming up, like how many years ago was that? And when you're busy all the time, it just slips by. And like your physical and mental well-being is the platform of your happiness and you helping other people, your family or whatever it is. So you really need to just be conscious of that all the time, that you're investing in it.
Because you're less, and even the stamina. What I found was like when you're physically fit, right, and you have a busy day in work, you kind of can, your body can keep going.
Big time.
I noticed I was getting so much more tired quickly. I was wrecked at the end of the day. That never would have happened to me. Like I think when you're in a business or a leader in a business, your physical fitness, to have that endurance is really important.
And like nothing is a big deal throughout the day, because you're after doing this horrible workout, you know, and you're like, anything outside of this, anything after this is grand.
I can cope.
But there is actually something to that. You know, you get up early, you do the workout, you don't want to get up, you get up anyway, you overcome that resistance. Then the resistance throughout the rest of the day seems less. I don't know what it is, but it is a thing.
And any tips? So I'll give you one tip that I have, but I was always a runner, you know that. And I've gone back into running again. So what I do is, if I know I have to get up tomorrow morning early before work for a run or the gym, I leave the gear at the end of my bed. Everything. Socks, everything, training gear, it's there. I don't look out the window to see if it's raining. And I just get up and get the gear on. And then I go downstairs and put my runners on and I open the door. And whatever, that's the hardest part. I think once I nail that, then I'll go. But if I don't have the gear ready and I have to get up and look for the thing in the drawer and then find the leggings I won't go.
Have it ready and have plenty of it.
Yeah.
So that's all I have in my wardrobe is gym gear. So there's never any excuse for no gym gear.
Any other tips for people like that want to get started and they're like maybe finding it difficult to start the routine of, I know maybe reach out to a coach, that's important, but then people do that and then don't do anything, you probably...
Yeah, joining a gym isn't good enough. It won't make you go. Sign up. We do like, not saying just do this forever, but we do groups and people are so consistent because they're paid to train 2 or 3 times a week for 4 weeks. They're paid up front. They will come because they've already paid.
There has to be a sting, doesn't there?
They are going to train at a certain time on a certain day, and they literally will schedule everything else around their life so they're there.
To get there.
And people that could not be consistent when they're in a normal gym, they couldn't even be consistent one-to-one because they could cancel that. If I cancel that before 24 hours, you know, I get away or whatever. They paid for it. They come. All of a sudden, they have like 2 years under their belt. They train 3 times a week, every single week.
And do you think it's something about the small group
There's
as
the social
well?
element of it
There's
as
the
well.
social element. They kind of not want to let each other down, the friends in the group.
They do become friends as well.
They do become friends in it. And then like scheduling your, if that isn't an option for you, scheduling your week at the start of the week. So you might schedule for work, you're like, oh, well, on Monday I'm doing this. You have your diary. You have to put in, before the week starts, on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, whatever. You know what I mean? And it's just non-negotiable. You can't take it out because, like we were saying before, it affects everything else if you take it out.
Like I really experienced it, and I genuinely, it was night and day, I was a different person. And then I started to lose confidence because I started to feel like, oh, I don't feel like myself. And, you know, everything started to go. It was a horrible place. So
when you are training regularly as well, no matter what comes up, I feel like you can deal with things better because you have that confidence in yourself, that you're a little bit more physically resilient, probably more mentally resilient. And like, it sounds simple, but even, you know, to run for a bus or have to do something physical, I know if I couldn't do that, that would affect me deeply, you know, that way. So you're always kind of sharpened a little bit.
And your mind, I don't know whether it releases hormones, I'm sure that it does, right? But I find that I'm sharper. And I remember the first marathon I ran, I remember finishing that and thinking, I can actually do anything. Like, I felt like that.
Mad,
listen,
isn't it? Yeah.
I was nearly last in the thing.
You
know,
doesn't
I was
matter.
over the 4 hours.
Matter.
I didn't care. I felt like I did this really hard thing. I think there's definitely a connection between doing something physically hard and then being mentally strong. There's a connection with that, as you said, when you face something difficult first thing in the morning, it's like everything else is easier after that. And it's more than just that it's exercise. It's like knowing I actually can do hard things. It builds this sort of resilience in you. And I think as humans, right, like if you go back to when we were like living on, you know, in caves and we had to hunt for stuff, I just think it's in us to want to do something hard and physical. And I think when we're not doing it, we feel different and weaker and not as strong and powerful.
You would have had to overcome so much resistance doing the marathon. You know, you didn't run the whole thing going, this is grand.
No.
I'm well able for this. You know, you got the 5 kilometres in, you went, oh no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you overcame the resistance over and over and over for probably 100 times throughout it, you know what I mean? And then once you've done that, that's mentally, you know, really sharpening you, really ingraining that toughness.
And I'm telling you, I after that, I changed as a person.
But it's almost like a core memory as well. That just sticks with you, and it will always stick with you when you can go, look, I did that.
Particularly the first one, because I remember I got to 18 miles and I was like, I'm feeling good, I'm going to pick up the pace. And then I got to 20 and I thought, actually, too soon.
Too soon.
No, I had no experience. And then I was like 6 miles of absolute murder. But I just kept going. And I was like, and I know that about myself. And then I ran that half with Sue. And Sue really wanted to do the half. So I kind of was our training buddy. I was 5k in and I thought, this is the worst run of my life.
It's funny.
I'm dying. I'm not going to get through it. But I knew I'd finish the run.
I
knew it. I know about myself. It's like, you'll finish it.
That's the thing with fitness as well. It doesn't necessarily ever get easy. Like it's always always going to be tough. You're never like, oh, I just keep getting fitter and everything is so much easier the more I train. It's always going to be tough, but that's part of it that's good, I think, that you're constantly overcoming these obstacles.
And it definitely, and since I've gone back training, like I've been training more, I feel more myself. I feel kind of powerful again, and I feel in control, and I feel better about myself. Definitely, there's a connection there. I don't really understand what it is, but I think it's kind of in our DNA. There's something about it that
so, I mean, if you think it's only the last probably couple of hundred years maybe that we've become so comfortable where we can sit down in front of TV. Before that, we were always moving around doing something and working, so it's probably an innate thing.
That's
where
what I mean, that we actually
we need to move.
And that's why people are doing these cold baths and these, we just like the torture.
I like that for resilience in terms of, not that I've ever done one, I haven't done. I like the idea of it.
I'm no good in cold, but
There's one, I went to the Pendulum Summit, I keep talking about this, but it was Go next year. It was unbelievable. But you know the guy who does the ice, gets into the water and the sea,
Wim Hof,
Wim Hof,
he was there, him. He was there, and it, like, unbelievable, the health benefits of it. But more than that for me, it's like, knowing I can sit in the ice for a few minutes, I'm going to start doing it, because I just think it's for your mental resilience. I think that's, for anything that I have achieved in business, it's because I have that stubbornness.
I had one in the basket before, and I was like, oh, will I get this or not? I didn't buy it.
They have one actually at where our offices are. There's one they've just put in the end. I know they've ice baths in there. And listen, I am telling you, I'm terrified of cold water. I'm absolutely terrified of cold water. But I think that's something I need to overcome, because
we have someone that trains in the gym, and he does that once a month. He drives up to the 40 foot, spends an hour driving up from Kildare, jumps in for 10 minutes. Has a really stressful job, and he says it just completely clears his mind. He just gets in and gets out a new man, and that's his thing that he does every month to decompress, and he lives by it.
That's my goal.
It nearly doesn't matter what the thing is once it challenges. You know, especially if you have a comfortable job where maybe you're sitting in a cubicle or whatever it might be. You know, we weren't really built to do that for forever. So just something that challenges you. Doesn't matter. Ice.
Our physical environment is so set up for comfort these days. Like you literally, you don't have to leave your house. You really don't. Like.
And it's the young kids now that I'm like at least we were hardier.
We're out.
We're not allowed to say that now, but it was just different. I think it's harder for the kids now. I have mine tough as now.
Much harder.
But I think it's important, and like it just, I saw the impact it had throughout my life, and I'm telling you, it's for everybody that's watching, listening, that has a stressful job. Do something physical. Do something physical. It's important, and get a coach. Now the next thing I want to talk about is food. nutrition.
There's
food.
2 of us in it.
There's 2 of you.
I don't know everything about food. I'm not an expert.
It's confusing. There's so many fads out there: paleo, vegan, keto. People are confused about what's going to work. Somebody said to me, and I'm hitting that age now where I'm going to start into menopause. There's so much shame around that. That's a whole other topic, right? Yeah. Even for me to say that is like, but I'm coming to that age, and people are saying go dairy and gluten free. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, you actually can't eat anything. Yeah. Don't eat anything.
Every podcast you listen to says a different thing.
If you follow all the rules of social media, you drink water. That's about it.
It's like, don't eat dairy, don't eat meat, don't. And then now there's a guy, and he's saying, don't eat fruit.
Yeah.
Too much
sugar. Don't eat vegetables. Don't
We actually have some really, really good food-based dietary guidelines. So if you think of like the food pyramid, the updated food pyramid, and we have like eat well plates as well. I think Denmark and Canada have actually some cool graphics of an eat well plate. And it is, you can eat lots of things, lots of food. Yeah. But again, it's all about quantities and things like that. Fruits and vegetables, we probably don't eat enough of plant-based food we should be eating. Of course, lean meats, dairy is fine. For the most part, it would
unless
probably
you have an intolerance, which is a whole
different
thing.
Like if you're lactose intolerant, you can still eat some then. If you have anything like that, I would go see like a dietitian or,
a doctor.
Yeah, exactly, if you're running into problems. But in terms of just general health, like anything like the carnivore diet, especially, if we're to walk out of here now and we're on the carnivore diet and the only thing we can eat is meat, it's crazy straight away in terms of how practical that is. Let alone the long-term health impacts of it. And people always say, the carnivore diet, that's how our ancestors lived. They just ate meat. That's how we should live. They lived till they're about 35.
I always
there's no long-term health evidence there to say. I think it's like penicillin, 1900, our average life expectancy was about 50. If you got an infection, you were just dead. Do you know that way?
So whatever was available. It wasn't that like they were choosing this thing. Like,
it was just whatever was available.
Whatever they could get.
And listen, I tried every diet. There was one that I tried, and it was the cabbage soup diet, right? So
I've heard of this,
just eat cabbage soup.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah. How did that go?
I tried them all.
Unfortunately, Charlotte, balance doesn't sell.
Yeah.
So Philly's saying that
it's unsexy.
Eat fruit, eat vegetables. It just doesn't sell. But you can package carnivore. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to lose this 20 pounds. You're going to do whatever.
The liver king,
and they can sell. It's all sell.
Because people are looking for the quick fix.
And
I think that's what is wrong. Because, 6 pack in 6 weeks and all this. And people are looking for that. Do people come to you looking for stuff like that?
Not
now.
My clientele, really. You know what I mean?
No.
They're normally probably listening to a lot of our stuff beforehand. Okay. So we don't give off that vibe of like the quick pill. You know what I mean? We give off the vibe of like, no, there's not. But they will sell it to you. Yeah. You know what I mean? We give off the vibe of, come, work with us. We will gradually make you healthier, better, happier, hopefully over time. But it all has to be, like, balance. Unfortunately, it is just balance.
Yeah. But
do you
we
know
say
what I mean?
that
and then quantities, like, that's...
But you know what I think? I think if we ate, like my granny lived till she was 90 odd, and she used to walk 4 miles a day until the last maybe 2 years of her life. But I look at what she ate: porridge in the morning, soup that she made herself, and brown bread, and then her dinner was meat, veg, and potatoes.
Shar, I have a wonderful 14-day healthy eating kickstart on my website that explains everything you should be eating. It's really, really good.
Okay.
And it just goes through everything.
Where are the people? So, is it on your Philly?
www.strongbodystrongmind.ie. It's completely free. You sign up. It's 14 days, 10-minute video every day, and it just guides you through all the foods, healthy foods you should be eating. And then everything is going to be individualized to a person. We all have different preferences and tastes when it comes to food. So I don't tell you, a meal plan or anything like that. It gives you all the information, and then you would go and try and build your own kind of healthy diet with that. And that's the thing we say with training as well. Like, for you to feel good and be healthy long term, you want to train forever. You want to make it part of your life. And healthy eating is like that as well. There's no quick fix. You just need to learn about food and kind of settle into your own healthy diet and figure things out as you go. You can't learn quickly, really. You kind of have to make it part of your life. I want to learn about nutrition. The sooner you can overcome that thought in your head, like the quicker you'll get results, quicker. So we always said, I said that the other day on social media, anyone I coach, it's my job. I want to coach you forever. I want you to be healthy. I get so much you know, enjoyment from it and satisfaction from it. I want to be your coach forever when it comes to training. And it's the same with nutrition, just to be there for guidance for someone.
Yeah.
They do figure things out eventually themselves, but if you're relying on, like, you know, the carnivore diet, these kind of social media quick fixes.
You just can't stick to anything like that. I've tried them.
You cannot look in the longer term with that. And it's the exact same when it comes to training. We don't get people in and it's like, we're going to max out on this, we're going to go, you know what I mean? Everything has to be a longer term approach. Can you still do this? Are you going to be able to do this in 5 years? No. Probably not the best thing for your health. You know, it's very different for performance, for, like, you know, young athletes and stuff like that. That's a whole different thing, but that's not who we train, and that's not what we're about, really, you know.
And for me, over the last few years, what I started to think about was this, not even how long I live, it's the quality of life I'm going to have when I'm older.
Exactly,
Because, you know, I want to be well. We're probably all going to live longer. We're going to probably live into our 90s, most likely, if we, you know, look at. But I don't want to be absolutely not able to move. I want to be fit and healthy when I'm that age and still mobile.
It was something that resonated with people recently, especially in person. I put it up on social media. I was like, you know, you probably want to be financially secure when you're older, so you invest in a pension, but you have to invest in a health pension as well, that when you get there, that you can actually enjoy yourself in your later years. And it's not, you don't spend all your money on medical bills or anything like that, or, you know, on a cruise where you can't get out of your chair, or whatever it is, you know, even if it's out in the garden, you know,
that's so true,
growing vegetables, whatever.
We're all waiting for what? To retire.
Exactly.
Retire with no health. Like, every better decision you make with food, every training session you do, it's all money in the bank. It's all investment. It's all investment. And all the time you invest in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, it just stands to you so well after, you know. And
I even find, like, when I went back training, I get back into shape fairly quick. Like, it's like muscle memory or something. Like, my cardio is always the worst to come back, but I feel my strength come back fairly quickly. And I did get back into shape. I can see it that I got back into shape.
Because you had that
But
back.
those first few weeks, like, you know, death, you're looking at it saying, nothing's happening, look the same, look the same. And I think that's what people need to overcome. It's not looking for the six-pack, it's like, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Am I managing stress better? And if this is causing me additional stress, it shouldn't. So sometimes it's just going for a walk. Sometimes I'm just going to resign that as much as I'm going to get today is a walk, but I'm going to do something.
But that would manage your stress. Then you might make a better food choice. You might sleep better. The next day, you go to the gym, you have better work. You know, it all snowballs. And it can snowball positively or negatively. You know,
honestly, when I stopped exercising, I stopped sleeping.
I
stopped sleeping.
I
was waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what is wrong with me? As soon as I start exercising, in the bed, gone. Because I was sleeping much better, and it has a knock-on effect. What I've started now is the morning time. I'm going to start training in the morning. I was always an evening trainer.
Always. You used to always train.
Always 8 o'clock.
At 8
and
o'clock.
then I get into bed, lovely sleep. But it's just not working for me now. And so I have to train myself now to get up and morning time training. That's what I find is working for me.
Things change, and it's kind of like that with food as well, in terms of, you know, you mightn't necessarily be eating the same meals in 5 years' time that you are, but to have a good understanding of that, you have a huge amount of choice. It doesn't have to be the same thing all the time. So things definitely do change over time.
And people's life changes, kids, no kids.
And there is, I think, if you, the exceptions of that, there's a lag factor with whatever you do. If you start training now, you're probably going to have to wait a few months to feel the effects, but just be consistent with it. It's the same if you did your first podcast or whatever it was. It takes a good few to get a bit of traction. So no matter what it is, it's just, you need to be patient, settle in and keep working.
And it is going to take time, and people need to understand that. Exactly. I think for me, definitely working with people works if I'm accountable and if I'm having the crack. You know me, I love the crack, right?
Well, it has to be part of it.
It has to be. If I'm not enjoying it, it's no point. So if I go, and even half the time I might be talking, but the other half I'm training, but I've done something, I've got out, and I feel magic at the end. And I think that's what works for me. I know I need to be having the crack. If it's someone dead serious.
The social element is huge, like, you know. It comes back to making the person comfortable again. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're comfortable in an environment, you'll have the crack.
Yes, you will.
You know, if you're not comfortable in an environment, you're not having the crack, it's not the place for you.
No,
go somewhere else,
and sometimes the coach might just be the person
Exactly.
for you.
That's the big thing with relationships with a coach. It's absolutely fine. Like, there mightn't be a connection there, and that's grand. Go and look for someone else. It could be anything. Like, it could be a hairdresser or a doctor or whatever it is. So you can find someone else.
But it is, like you say, it's relationship building. Like, that's what we're in the business of. You know, they're not coming to us just for, like, the exercise knowledge or the nutrition knowledge. It's a relationship we build, and then we will guide them. But we could have all the information in the world.
They could read it.
If you're a square, they're not going to come back to you.
You know, if they're turning up and we're like a bit weird or something, it's not going to work out. You know, so
it's like never going back there. No, that all makes a difference. It does. And to prove that you're way, all of that is really, really important because. But I think it's. I just find the market is saturated with contradictory information. People are confused now. It's doing the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing.
There's no barrier to entry. Like, you can leave the room here when this is finished and just go set up a page and say, I'm Sharon Farrell, nutritionist, and start giving out crazy nutrition advice.
Yeah,
so it's the same with fitness as well. The barrier to entry there is just completely low. Like
weekend course, open a gym, let's go.
Yeah.
No experience.
Yeah.
It's so scary. It is scary, but you have to find the people with experience, like, that really, really makes a difference. And that's like our biggest probably selling point is that we're like dinosaurs, they said. We're just doing it so long. Time. We've come across training people with spinal injuries, training, you know, from all walks of life.
Okay.
So we don't see it as like a barrier. If someone rings me and they're like, do you know, I want to start training, but I have a bulge in this, my L4, I have this, I have that. 100%.
Come on in. You work with a lot of people with back injuries.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the kind of thing with the mixed experience.
It's and you know, we work closely with physios. Work between the physios, between us. You know, we have a good working relationship with them as well. So it's not like we're taking on people that we're not qualified to take on.
Yes.
We send them to get assessed. They get assessed from a qualified physiotherapist.
Yeah.
Physio feeds information back to us. We start working with them. So we try to cut out the barrier the person might have.
Yeah.
That like, the gym's not for me because I have a bad back.
Yeah.
Or because
it's an excuse, but it is a barrier to them.
Well, it is a barrier.
It's a legitimate excuse as well.
It's a legit excuse because they might be told by a doctor, don't lift anything heavy. Don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with physiotherapy, with controlled proper training, they can all of a sudden be a year later, oh, I have no back pain anymore and I can do this thing, you know. So that's what our kind of unique selling point is when it comes to coaching people in person, you know.
Yeah,
and that's important. You said nutrition, and Colin goes, oh, he's the man to talk to there. And I'm like, we both have the knowledge of nutrition. If Colin ever needed anything, he'd ask me. Yeah. But at the same time, anything to do with injuries or anything like that, I always go,
it's great to have
I would be able to look after someone, but to bring someone back from somewhere, I would say, Colin, what should we do here?
It's always like, and that's why, because we're working together for so long, we're always pushing each other.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Anton.
It's always.
I still don't like that comparison.
Yeah, they're fairly small. I know.
What can they bench?
You know, anything like that, we're always working back and forth, and that makes a difference. And working back and forth then like that with physios, and you're with other nutritionists and all, so you're always trying to upskill.
We have a good peer network as well. You know, and we're not afraid to. I have people who are friends of mine. In the industry who know a lot more about nutrition, like lecturers and have PhDs. Anything that I didn't know, I could just drop the message, go here, look, I'm not sure about this or whatever. And
I think that's what people need, because you said if you're looking on social media, forget it.
Yeah,
it's conflicting. You just don't know where to start.
You don't know where to start,
and then you know, you're not going to feel.
Someone asked me that. They said, "What was the biggest thing you took away when you did your masters in nutrition?" And I was like, "It actually wasn't the information on food. It was the ability to be able to filter things, to be able to look at information." And maybe assess it and go, okay, who is this person? What are they saying? What are they trying to get? Are they trying to get anything from what they're saying or sell something? Does it make sense? Okay, maybe it does a little bit. I'm going to take that and I'm going to go away and look for a different perspective to see if that's right, as opposed to just someone says something on social media and you're like, okay, sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have a good bullshit filter, and that carries over to everything, whether you're looking at the news, whether it's politics, whether it's nutrition or training. Yeah. So that's something I would say to everyone, is that detector, that kind of filter of information you need to work on.
You need somebody who knows something. They're an expert in their field or they're not. But and I mean, when people are that desperate, they're vulnerable.
Yes,
and they will click, you know.
It's very tough now, because a lot of those people, like online gurus and charlatans and like the carnivore diet, they could have PhD after their name, or they could have a master's, or they could seem very qualified in an area, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's they just sell out or if they don't really understand the information, but that's the route that they go.
Or they just have a rocking body and people are like, want to collect, sell, buy. That's what I mean. You know,
by association, people do that. They see something, they see the program, and they're like, if I buy that program, I'm going to look like that person. It's not the way it works.
If you look at most online coaches especially, they've never trained anyone in person. Like,
it's a different
they've never
thing.
trained anyone. How could you possibly give exercise advice to someone who you've never trained? You know, there's so much.
And like you have to be looking at someone and see what they're doing wrong.
You know, what might work on paper
but
mine work in reality.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like saying I know how to do a push-up because I've read it.
I do online coaching and I don't take beginners. If someone's a complete beginner, I really want to get started in fitness, I'm like, you can't do my program online. You got to go to anyone. It doesn't have to be me. It could be someone else, but you need someone standing in front of you, like assessing you and going through things.
That's how people get injured, and then they end up not being able to train at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's I just think it's, for me, I wanted to get both of you on because I knew the impact it was having on me. Doing both sides, trying every fad diet ever, like in the 90s. If it was, I tried them all. I was even on the Atkins and a thing called a hay diet, cabbage soup diet, did them all. But then going from absolutely like nailing my nutrition and gym for 4 or 5 years to then going the other and feeling the difference. And I know how important it is, but I know how important it is to have the right people around you with the right advice. So I think that was why I wanted to. That's us. That's you guys. And what's your website called?
Colin Dempsey PT on Instagram is probably the best way to find me.
Colin Dempsey PT.
Yeah, on Instagram is probably the best way.
You're the same. So look, it was
www.strongbody.strongmind.ie is the website.
And I can vouch for you.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have people on here if I thought. I know it works. I know I learned a lot from both of you. That's how I look so amazing. No,
it is.
You're a good advertisement.
You're a poster girl. You're a poster girl.
It is tough running my own business. It is tough managing stress. It's tough trying to fit everything in. And some days I feel like a failure. I'm like, I didn't. But I just think, I know now I don't have to be perfect. I just have to do a little bit every day.
Get something done.
Get something done. Yeah, it's great. So listen, guys, anything else you want to add for people? Tips, advice before we wrap our chat up?
Just keep thinking like that, along them lines.
Yeah.
Have balance. Take your time. Not trying to do it next week. Not trying to, you know what I mean? You're always thinking in advance. If I stick to this for 6 months, maybe stick to this for a year, and just do a little bit more. People say, "Oh, I won't train because I can only train once a week." Once a week is much better than none. That might start off, you might do that for 2 or 3 months. Oh, I found more time, I can do twice a week. I'm really starting to enjoy this. You know what I mean? I can add another walk in. So it doesn't have to be like, I need to completely change my life. You know, I need to throw everything in the cupboards. I can't eat this, I can't eat that. Just small little changes. Do that for a little while, make another small change. Do that for a little while. Over a year, you could just be completely different person. Completely different person.
Like, probably that is the thing that people, the biggest mistake they make is too much too soon.
Too much too soon.
They're trying to do. I've done it. January the 1st, I'm out the door 5 days a week. No shit, no. Everything gone. And you're just miserable by the end of January. You're like, I can't do this. This is my life's hell.
And if you look at it, people always do that. You know, no takeaways at all, no chocolate, no whatever. You know what I mean? Like completely cut. Restriction doesn't work long term because it's not practical.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
You're not going to stick to it.
You know, if you're like, all right, I get 5 takeaways in a month, I'm going to try to get 2.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Living for that one on the second week.
You know what I mean? Like, but at least you have it. You know what I mean? And it's not out. So all that kind of just small changes, and just keep progressing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
It's the baby steps towards anything. If I'm working on a goal in the business, I'll be like, what did I do today to work towards that?
Yeah.
And then I started changing my mindset because I was very fit. And then to go back in and be like, oh my God, I can't do anything. But I was like, just baby steps. Little walk maybe today, maybe 5K run, maybe 1K run, maybe 500 metres, whatever I can do. And I'm easy on myself now. I'm not as hard on myself as I was. I'm like, just do something. And it's like putting money in the bank. It clocks up.
It is. It can be easy as an adult to prioritise everything else bar yourself, whether it's your job or your kids, your family. You could have like aging parents. It could be anything like that. Someone sick, but you do always just think of that little investment in yourself over time, and that resonated so much with my clients. Invest in your health pension. Like think of that.
100%.
It's a big one.
It's like imagine retiring and not being able to do what
And you think of healthcare as well. Like in this country, you do not want to be sick. You don't want to be on any kind of waiting list. Public, and even private healthcare. The cost of everything. Your health really is your wealth. So just think of that. Kind of week in, week out. Come train with us.
If you have kids, you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
Do you know, if you're healthier, you live longer, you're much better able when you're, you're doing it for, I know it might seem like it's an hour away from them at the minute, but that might add 10 years with them. You know, like
it's the guilt of the
It's the guilt of the parents trying to go and do it, and I should really have done this.
That's why the early morning for me, it's like they're not even up.
They're not up.
They're not even up now because they're at that age. Yours are probably up at 5 in the morning. Mine aren't, and it's like I can do that guilt-free, and it's an hour to myself, and it does set me up for the day. Then I'm like, okay, I'm not eating that. I'm going to have a good breakfast. I'm going to have a good lunch.
Exactly.
It's a knock-on effect.
I don't have kids. I do it for my dog.
You do. And your abs. Your fans. Your fans. I love this. I will get you back on again because I think it's a really important topic. And we could stay here all day, but I really appreciate it. And
thanks for having us on. Thank you so much.
We'll tag it and everything, and then we'll put up give your websites and things one more time to the camera there. Go on.
Oh, us. Okay, you go ahead.
Colin Dempsey PT on Instagram.
www.strongbodystrongmind.ie is the website, and that's the handle on Instagram as well.
Yes. Thank you.